Hi guys. So recently HTTP released this new spec which is called RSC 10008, which introduces new HTTP methods known as the query method, which works as a substitute of making GET requests, but with filters as a payload. Now let's just talk about the problem statement, like why we needed this query method. If we can easily filter out things by tweaking a post request and setting filters in a body payload, we can perform the get operations with it as well. But ideally, theoretically it is not suitable. Theoretically it is not recommended in a RFC spec. So that is why this query method was introduced, but this was not the reason only. We were working with those hacks uh, from very long time, and it was working fine. The problem was something else. Let me just explain you. So let's just try to understand that. First of all, what is a protocol? If I just tell about protocol, like what it is. So a protocol basically means that there are some set of rules, some set of arguments and statements, and based on that you have to respond, have to act in a certain way. Like if two machines want to communicate with each other, like if this is a machine one and the machine one wants to talk to another machine remotely somewhere else, so there should be a protocol by which these two machines can communicate. In general, if I talk in a layman term, a protocol can be written is, suppose I can write a protocol like this: add followed by two arguments, and then the machine will interpret it, and it interprets like this: add a plus b, which basically means a plus b. So a protocol can be something like, there will be there will be an argument like what to do, followed by some set of parameters, like on what parameters you need to perform a particular operation. This is how you can define a protocol. HTTP is also a protocol. HTTP is also a protocol. HTTP is also a protocol. But when you try to write an HTTP protocol in a terminal, what you basically do is you basically define a HTTP method. Suppose you want to make a GET request, then you define the source. Suppose you want to the fetch source that you want to fetch data from, and after that you define a particular HTTP version. Suppose I want to make it HTTP/1.1. So that's how you write a particular call for this protocol to fetch some data. In generally we do this. We can also make requests with curl request as well. But that's not the agenda of the particular video. The agenda is why would we need query method. So the thing is, there is a thing called idempotency. If you are performing a certain set of operation, every time the result of that operation is same. Every time the outcome generated from that particular operation is same. So suppose if I'm making a get request to a particular source, and if I make five get requests, every time I'm gonna get the same result. Yes or no? Every time I'm gonna get the same result. Now suppose I make this same get request 5 to 6 times with certain filters. Again, I'm gonna get same result. That's what idempotency for me, because every time the same amount of input that I'm putting, I'm gonna get the same result, the same behavior from server. That's why get requests are idempotent by default. But that is not the case with post and put. Post and put requests are not generally, not the post but patch requests are not generally idempotent, because every time you make a get post request, suppose if I make a post request 5 times, so I am creating a new record in the database, new record in the server 5 times. And if I'm calling a patch request, so I'm updating a particular thing, a particular object 5 times, 6 times, whatever times I'm making a request, right? So if these requests are not idempotent, they are not cacheable, because I will cache the results. The results are cacheable when they have no impact, no matter the amount of time I call a particular request. It doesn't matter if I call it 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. It should not alter my server state. It should not alter my database state. So if I'm making a get request 5 times, 6 times, it is not altering my database state. It is just get, getting me that what my particular state of database are around the filters that I'm putting in a get request. But post and fetch requests are not cacheable by default. So if you use post request for these get operations, the one thing that we lose is that we will not be able to make these requests cacheable. And there is no point of putting out CDNs, no point of putting out middlewares at server and database level. So that request coming from a particular client just goes to a CDN. The request and the response are cacheable on that particular CDN. It just gets the response back to that client. But using that post request, that cacheable thing is not present, because post and fetch by default are not cacheable, but get are cacheable. So is there a solution that we can use get request and we can make them cacheable? So that is why this RFC spec, which is 1010008, introduced this particular thing known as this query method here. So here you can see that the support for HTTP query is still query request can be cached, but implementation must be carefully incorporated. So that's why these requests are cacheable, and we can send a body along without even like putting out everything in a get URL. So that's also a very good thing. And another bottleneck of get request was when we used to filter out something, that we have to put everything in query params. So sometimes you can see the query params in itself getting a lot of complex. Like if you want to filter out based on specific array index or based on specific array method, you would need to put out a lot of hacks in that particular query params URL. So this is what this particular new method is trying to solve. It is not just only about sending a get request with a body. It has little bit more things to incorporate, which is cacheable things, idempotency, and this new query params hack. So I hope you got my point. Thank you so much.